Knocked his ass out and kissed him on the cheek. He fucked up just by thinking I was sweet. I run the city, might have thought I was some cliques. You never heard someone like this upon the beat. Tutti fruity, the booty duty is jury duty. Moody foodies, jacuzzis is filled with bougie booties. All of this money, don't know how to count it, man. I think I need a computer. I can't live in deep, man. I live at the funeral. I got no need for a shooter. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. The whole label, drug dealers, If you build it, homie, they will come. If you turning up to save me some. Drop down to get your ego on. I don't care for boring people. I think you're lame. I only politic with goons while out the frame. Better take another shot, bitch. It's not a game. I'll beat it out the frame. Baraka, waka, flocka, flame. I am a legend, man. You know that I have a problem with acting a fool. I don't talk to police. I know nothing. I swear to God that shit is not true. I'm a barbarian, hopping adrenaline, looking for something to do. I'm remarkable. I'm on a roll. If you need education, I'll take you to school. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. Wake up, brush off, get clean, look good. Put on 2 chains, flexing, but what's up? So fly, 2C, be you, look good. I win, you lose, fuck you, what's up? I don't care for boring people. I think you're lame. I only politic with goons while out the frame. Better take another shot, bitch. It's not a game. I'll beat it out the frame. Baraka, waka, flocka, flame. I'm the shit. Now I think I will go catch your body. Fuck your bitch. And then I will go take a potty. No teriyaki, ya rock Kawasaki. If you're gonna you can hop in the shotty. She popping the molly. We'll cop in the squatty. Oh, cookie, loving the body. I'm getting bigger. Do you wanna reconsider? Lost control of a killer. I'm getting bigger. Sing this. 1 time. 2 time. 3 time. Hey.
What is happening, you guys? And welcome to another episode of the Finn's Tailgate. I am your host, El Capi Matan. And tonight, on the tailgate party that never seems to stop, we're going to do a little 53-man roster projection. Maybe even do a 16-man projection of the practice squad. But I'm not going to do this alone. We have a special guest host, Cat. We had him on last week, brought him back. We knew we needed to do another one, so we got him back in the building. Thank you. Guys, make sure to follow him at BrianCatNFL on Twitter, giving you all the good. Make sure to follow his tweets. Very insightful, as you know. But before we get going, make sure you guys are hitting the like button on your way in. Subscribing if you're new. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter, make the mild journey on over here to YouTube and make sure to subscribe here on the network and hit the like button. Share the videos. Help this channel grow. Guys, make sure you're also catching all the great content we have here on the network. Myself, El Capitan, with the Finn's Tailgate. You got color commentary doing daytime, nighttime, and also always you can catch them in the mornings with Ali at Top of the Tailgate. KP, the newest member of the Tailgate, gonna be getting this thing rolling here sooner rather than later. He's doing some family stuff, but lots of great ideas coming out of there, and we're gonna have some good stuff for you. And then, guys, you already know Lou, aka the Rabid Dolphin, and Shake Money, doing some good stuff in the drive time, the Smoke Lounge, the madness on your drive time, all of the good stuff. Make sure you guys are checking them out as well. Also, guys, Cash App, Venmo, the Finn's Tailgate, great ways to support the channel. Also, you guys can support the channel by becoming a member, hitting the join button, and becoming a member of the channel. Shout out to all the members. We appreciate you guys being the lifeblood of what keeps this program coming and going. Also, you can donate. We always appreciate some super chats. Great way to get your questions in. Great way to get noticed in the chat board, which gets overwhelming at times, and get your questions across to me or whomever else is on the panel and show or what have you. But always free to just share the video. We appreciate that too. And hitting the like and subscribing. We appreciate every one of you guys. Also, guys, make sure you guys are checking out all of our great affiliates. Fanatics, link is in the bio. Officially licensed official partners, Fanatics. Get all of your gear through Fanatics, and using the link lets them know that we sent you. And guys, make sure to check out our friends at W Energy Drink. If you use offer code TFTG, you'll get 10% off your purchase. No crash, no nothing. Shake's got some. I get ordered some. Should be coming soon. Great pre-workout, great stuff. You don't need coffee. Just get yourself a little W, spin it up and get it in that mug, and thank you. And then also check out our friends at Backroom Collections. Using offer code TFTG will help get you 10% off of any of their one-of-a-kind canvas artwork. And then also, guys, make sure you guys are checking out the new website, TFTGnetwork.com. Got tons of cool stuff, things that the guys are going to be getting. I know Color just got his hat. He's going to be showing it off here sooner rather than later. Mug, if there ever is a problem with what you ordered, let me know, and I will expedite it through HB in the back. And we just had a problem. You know, I got Ali a hat, and it came in, and it was not the hat. It was some, I don't know, it was like a church hat or something. It was, he thought I was playing a prank on him, but I wasn't. You know, I just got a little mixed up into Oda. But yeah, guys, make sure you're checking out all of our great stuff at TFTGnetwork.com.
Get ready to dive into a new world of online shopping with the Fins Tailgate. Whether you're a die-hard sports fan or just looking for the latest fashion trends, we've got you covered. With a wide variety of products from your favorite sports teams to stylish accessories and home decor, we're your one-stop shop for all things tailgate. Our easy-to-use website and hassle-free checkout process make shopping with us a breeze. Plus, with frequent sales and discounts, you won't want to shop anywhere else. So come on in and join the party at the Fins Tailgate, your new go-to destination for all things tailgate.
So, guys, make sure you're checking out TFTGnetwork.com. Come season, be all kinds of excellent content coming out. There's going to be a Patreon getting started up with all that, too. Exclusive content for the Patreon. Also, there'll be some exclusive content going out to only members of the YouTube channel. It's we're just going to be mixing it up, guys. We got so many of us now going to be doing so much content. We want to make sure that, you know, we're coming at it from every angle. So shout out to everybody in chat getting in here. John Featherland, my guy. California, what's up? Member of the channel, always in here early. Duke Thompson, what's going on, buddy? Oh, look, Larry, what's good, Larry? My guy. Raph, what's going on, Raph? Lou, member and contributor and creator. What's up, fam? How goes it? Fred, what's up, Fred? Dolphins for life. What's happening? Jamie, hello. MRI preferred customer. Michael K, resident Bills fan. Gonna be just, trolling any day he can forever. IMAX, what's going on? Aquavision, appreciate the mods. Shake, Lou, everybody else. Make sure everybody's hitting the like button on the way in. And without wasting any more introductions, time, and nonsense, I'm going to bring our special guest up here. Kat, what's going on, buddy?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on again. It's hard to believe we did like a 2-hour and 15-minute segment last time and did not get to the 53-man roster prediction.
I know that was kind of the headline we were trying to go for, and just got we'll break down these things and this, and look at here we go. That's all right, no harm.
No, we had a good time. I took us off on a few tangents here. So yeah, no,
That's
thanks for having me on again. And yeah, this is I really like getting into the the weeds here with the 53-man roster and the roster battles going on, and the unheralded guys who may challenge some players for the bottom of the roster too.
yeah. I definitely didn't want to shortchange us on this conversation. You know what I'm saying? It seemed worthy of another hour, hour and a half, whatever we got to expel here for this, because we weren't going to squeeze it in there. It just wasn't going to happen. So it was best to go. What's up, Reggie? What's going on, Reg? Dr. Reginald Brown. So, yeah, let's get into it. Now, I was thinking we'll break it down by positions, but let's take the easy chess pieces off the board. We know Tua is on this team. We know Blake Ferguson is on this team. We know that Jason Sanders is on this team. Oddly enough, you usually at this time we can go, we know so-and-so punters on this team. But right now we actually have a battle going on in the punting room between ex-Miami Dolphin Matt Turk, his nephew, is that right? Or
Michael Turk, yeah.
Turk is his cousin or his nephew?
His nephew. Matt Turk kicked for the Dolphins, punted for him for 5 years, I believe,
and then Buffalo paid him some ducats.
Yeah, he was with the. Did he go to Buffalo? He might have. He was all over the place, but
he went to Buffalo and
he was with the Jets for a year. I know that.
I think that's where it ended, isn't it?
So he was with the Dolphins for I think 2 years, and then he went to the Jets for 1 year, and then he came back and punted for 3 or 4 years.
That's right.
So that he was forgiven. But his nephew Michael Turk, I expected him to be drafted, and he had a punt of 50 or more yards in 11 out of the 13 college football games last year. Yeah, just has an absolute booming leg. But he's going to go up against Jake Bailey, whom the Dolphins, I didn't really agree with the signing, but signed as a free agent, and they guaranteed him over $1 million. So Turk would have to beat out Bailey pretty conclusively. And I'm rooting for that to happen because I'm not a big Bailey fan.
Yeah, I personally, I don't really like Bailey. I know he's got good highlights, but I can remember him really short-legging some stuff, really bad position kicking, his coverage downfield. Not all the time. And I know the guy, wasn't he a Pro Bowler?
1 year he was.
Yeah.
And he was, coming out of college, he was a 5th-round pick too. So that's pretty high for a punter.
That's true.
And yeah, I mean, you're exactly right. He's kind of like Matt Hawk in that, he had some booming kicks, but also some like, what the heck are you doing type of moments. And
a little short-legging it sometimes.
Yeah, I really wish the Dolphins brought back Morstead, but man, I tell you, he threw me for a curveball here, starting off with the punters, going from to the punters. I mean, I did not expect that, man.
Well, I wasn't planning on it, but I'm just rolling with the punches at this point. So one of these two dudes are gonna make it. Let's, for the sake of what I think we'd both like, let's say Bailey loses. He loses and Turk ends up getting the job. Young kid in here beats out the old grizzled veteran and takes it, which personally is how I want it to go down. I want a young buck, a guy we can get on some kind of contract here and have him around for years to come and not think about my punter anymore. That's it. You don't think about the punter, long snapper very often unless they're really screwing up. Kickers, there's a lot more nuance at it. You know what I'm saying? High pressure situations. You're asking the guy to kick from 60 yards, whatever crazy nonsense you're asking them to do sometimes, where you go, well, all right, he didn't get that one, but it's blizzard out and it was 58 yards and against the wind. Okay, so I can't, that doesn't look good in the overall stats, but you got to take that into consideration when you're making judgments on those guys. So let's for the sake of that, we'll go this. So now we got 4 guys. What position group do you want to start in? Because I think we can say that those are 4 guys on the 53-man roster, no matter what.
So let's go to the running backs then, because
okay.
And because the $1 million question is, typically in these situations, I don't like predicting players who are not on the roster to be on the roster. If you did, that's fine. But, Dalvin Cook has to be predicted here, I think.
He's at the forefront of all Dolphins fans' minds, whether it's them saying, hey, he's coming. You hear the nonsense. He's definitely coming. Then you got people going, well, hell, it's been damn near 2 months since he said he was definitely coming today. So there's a lot of shit talking going on out there right now.
Yeah. And so the question is, do I predict him to be on the 53-man roster with this exercise? And I've gone back and forth about it, and I'm 51% yes. So I put Dalvin Cook on there. I do think the Dolphins are going to, at the end of the day, come away with them. I really, even with all the speculation with Dalvin Cook wanting to come to Miami, I didn't ever think it was going to happen, and it still may not happen. But the fact that the Dolphins offered him a contract showed that there's some interest. And when you factor in the no state taxes, and you factor in him growing up in the area, it certainly tips everything to the Dolphins' favor. And I think the biggest part of it for me that puts me over the edge of wanting him now is that if you don't get him, he's probably going to go somewhere else in the AFC East.
So that is a certainty at this point, because the Jets have emerged as number 2 favored landing spot. In some cases, people would say the number 1 right now. Oddly enough, here's something that, I don't know did you see the Mike Florio thing that came out today where Mike Florio was talking about it? He had spoken on that. You know what? I could pull up the audio so you can hear it real quick. Let me pull up just the audio. This should work out nicely.
I'm sure that Dolphins, whatever it was, Dolphins fans were probably really even level-headed about it.
Oh yeah, you know how we get down. We're always so charmingly chill at times. Yeah, now we get that. Where the hell did it go? No, I swear sometimes it steals my posts and hides them. But there's this overwhelming sentiment now coming out that, hey, this now, because of Breece Hall's injury, he had the Achilles and it was his ACL too, right? He tore that leg up pretty good.
He tore a few ligaments in his leg, and the fact that he's not, it's a flip of the coin of whether or not he's even going to be healthy in week 1 is concerning, given how early he got hurt in last season.
I mean, listen, I would understand a team being that, but here's something that I haven't heard. I haven't heard that they've made him an offer. I know that the Dolphins have. So, for all the speculation of the Jets and how serious a contender it is for them to get him, I have yet to hear that the Jets have even made him an offer. And it's common fact at this point that we know that an offer was made to him by the Miami Dolphins.
Right. And I know there were a couple of an offer to him, and I don't believe the Jets were one of them. And you would have to think they had to be right around the same dollar amount. I mean, if somebody offered Dalvin Cook, $9 or $10 million, he's obviously going to take it.
That's what I think.
I would think that the highest offer could not have exceeded about $4 million at this point in the process. So I think he's far apart with a lot of these teams, if I had to speculate.
Yeah, I think, but I also think, what he's doing is he's playing the waiting game. So a contender like the Jets say, here it comes, and Breece Hall has a setback. He's not going to be ready. They're now going, listen, this kid ain't going to be ready till week, mid-season maybe. If that's the case, maybe now they caper and they go, yeah, you know what? We're not going to let him slipped through our fingers. And not to mention, it's also the same reason we would want to get him is to keep him from a division rival like the Jets.
Yeah, and take a look at the Jets' first 4 games of the season. They play the Bills at week 1 at Dallas, New England at home, which is a game they'll probably be favored, and then the Chiefs. So
they need somebody right away.
Right. If they come out in those first 4 weeks and they have a complete absence of a running game while Aaron Rodgers is trying to acclimate himself with the rest of the team, and you're out of the gate 1-3 or 0-4, I mean, that's something that obviously could send the Jets in a tank real quick.
Yeah, and they definitely want to start the season at any pace, at least well. They don't have to start, 4-0, but they can't start 0-4 because that New York media, Aaron Rodgers, I'm telling you, to me, that honeymoon is short-lived if they start stumbling out the gate, which I don't expect them to. They got a good they got a great defense, great defensive head coach. They have plenty of weaponry when healthy on offense, and really, it was the lackluster quarterback play that held them back a lot. I'm not, it's just a fact. I mean, I still think they're going to Jets it up, though. They're gonna Jets up their own situation. They'll shoot themselves in the foot.
They were 7-10 last year with a non-existent quarterback, Joe Flacco, Wilson, Mike White for a couple of games. Yeah, I mean that's exactly right. I mean, if Aaron Rodgers comes out, I could see a world where Rodgers comes out with Nathaniel Hackett, who he's familiar with, and comes out firing because he has something to prove. And then you pair that with that Jets defense, which out of nowhere is a top 5 unit now. I could see that going really well. I don't want in those first 4 games for Aaron Rodgers to have a really good running game to rely on if Breece Hall is not healthy. So that adds to the value of the Dolphins possibly signing Dalvin Cook, which I think that they will probably end up doing.
So here's what Mike Florio had to say. Let me know if you can hear it.
The Jets have been gaining momentum as we get closer and closer to camp. And the Jets are a team that I was aware of as a potential destination for Cook weeks before he was actually cut. The Breece Hall angle is why they'd be interested in Cook. We don't know how healthy Breece Hall will be. We don't know if he'll be ready week 1. They've said all the right things, but we don't know. We just don't know. It's a lot of eggs to put in one basket. What do they have behind Breece Hall with all the investment that they're making in Aaron Rodgers? And if you could get Dalvin Cook for a reasonable contract and pair him with Rodgers and that passing game and that defense that is very good, that helps the Jets stand out in the AFC East, a very difficult division. And if the Dolphins are the other destination for Cook, there's a net benefit beyond just getting Cook. You're getting Cook if you're the Jets, and you're keeping him from the Miami Dolphins.
Can't really deny. I mean, it's all the same reasons why the Dolphins would want him outside of their running back number 1 being injured. I think the Dolphins have made it clear we do want him. They did offer him money. I also think that we sit in a precarious situation with a young running back that we don't know how will fare in the NFL. I'm very high on Devon Achane. I wonder when I hear Mike Florio say this, right? I wonder is this a I don't know. Are the Dolphins bidding themselves against themselves in this circumstance? You know what I'm saying? The Jets have yet to give him an offer. What if I'm Dalvin Cook? I'm looking for 2 teams, especially 2 division rivals, to get in a bidding war for my services. So he's going to wait. He's going to wait and hope that Miami comes out on top with their counter offer if the Jets do make an offer.
Yeah, I think that's very, very possible because if it gets further along here in the offseason and Breece Hall is not closer to getting on the field, then you might see that interest intensify. And as far as the Jets are concerned, and I think I could say the same thing for the Broncos, who are also interested in him, because Javonte Williams, my understanding is he was hurt worse. If Breece Hall tore 2 ligaments, Javonte tore 4. So it's not
Javonte had it bad.
It's not an exact medical opinion, but he is less likely to be available for week 1. But the other side of that too is if the Jets already know that Breece Hall is not going to be available for week 1, then they probably would have signed him already. Same thing with the Broncos and Javonte Williams. So there's a lot to play out here. And I think unless something takes a major setback with the Jets and the Broncos at the running back spot, I think Dalvin Cook does become a Miami Dolphin.
You make a great point. To me, Denver's a real sneaky underdog to land him because of that situation. Plus, because of what Sean Payton brings and how he likes to use the running back. And let's be real. You couldn't get a more specific type of running back that would be exactly what Sean Payton would want than Alvin Kamara, a.k.a. Dalvin Cook. They are pretty close as far as skill set goes and utilization in an offense can be applied. So, again, tipping in his favor. He could find himself in a 3-team bid and just go, who's paying me the most? But leaning in our direction, we know that he wants to be in Miami. We know Miami has expressed a financial agreement to want to have him. To me, the sooner we sign him, the better.
So let's say they do sign him. Okay. What becomes an interesting conversation is how the rest of the Dolphins running back room shapes out and who's going to be here, because my ideal situation is that Dalvin Cook comes in and is a 1-2 combo with Devon Achane, and then Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert being good system and team players and thinking, okay, I'm gonna sit here. I'm not going to get hit very much this year. I'm going to keep fresher legs, and I'm going to get $2 million for that, and we're going to have great running back depth on a really great team. That's what I'm hoping for. That would be perfect. That would be the perfect side, really, of everything. You'd have 4 really good running backs here. But I also think running back is a selfish man's position too. And if you have somebody like Jeff Wilson, is he going to be okay being 3rd or 4th on the depth chart? And if not, what do you do about that?
Well, he's the easy cut at this point too. I believe, as long as they don't get him, on the 53-man roster, they can save. I think he's only getting I think it's like 250,000 left or something like that.
So it wouldn't be a lot to cut either Mostert or Wilson. With Mostert, he's guaranteed whether he's on the 53-man roster or not. Dolphins are going to pay him $1.5 million. If he's on the roster, they're going to pay him an additional $700,000 or so to play this year. Mm-hmm. Jeff Wilson is guaranteed $1.9 million this year, and would get an additional $300,000 or so. So most of their contracts
are the exact same money.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, $2.2 million for each one, because they thought, okay, you're both good players, you're going to split time, etc. But if Dalvin Cook comes into the equation here, then he could be like, you know what, we've got to cut one of you, and we're going to cut Jeff Wilson, and it's going to be basically cutting off $2 million or close to it.
Well, what if the Dolphins decide to get greedy? And they say, you know what, we're not going to cut either one of you, and we're going to keep Devon Achane, and we're going to roll in here with these 4 running backs that fill out the room rather well. Now, it might not bode well for Devon Achane as far as he could be the guy at bottom of the depth chart, but if he finds himself as the 3rd or 2nd guy in rotation, that ain't hurting my feelings none. That, God forbid somebody gets banged up or goes down, I got to rely on one of these other guys. You know what I'm saying? So it could bode well.
Yeah, if Achane's ready to play, I want him to be the number 2 guy. Ideally, you have all 4 guys here, and all 4 guys are satisfied with the role. That's what I'm hoping. As far as roster predictions go, I also don't like to, in addition to not liking to predict players on the roster that are currently free agents. I don't like to predict trades either. And I'm not throwing out any wild trade, but I think one of Jeff Wilson or Raheem Mostert would get traded, likely for probably for a 7th round pick. It's not going to be much.
Even a swap.
Yeah, exactly. An Allen Robinson type of trade where you swap 7th, something like that. But basically it's dumping $2 million in salary cap, and you're giving the guy an opportunity, given the circumstances, to go to another team and be the backup running back. And still keep his career going.
So I would think that, hey, you know what? Let's it would be Raheem Mostert, because selfishly I'd rather keep Jeff Wilson, being that, you know, he's a little younger. But if I'm a team looking to trade, I'm asking for Jeff Wilson. Plus, if I'm Jeff Wilson, I'm asking probably to be traded for the better opportunity too. So, yeah, that could definitely be the circumstances. It puts us in I think it's a decent enough position if we were to get him. I mean, again, I don't mind him being pig-headed and keeping all these guys. That would be fine with me. You know,
I would prefer that if they can pull that off. I think that's fantastic. What I don't like is a 4th running back who bitches, and we got to deal with that. So,
well, I would imagine the 4th running back would be, just by seniority alone, would be Achane. You know what I'm saying? So, and that sucks, because I think even if Dalvin Cook's here, I think the ceiling with Achane is potentially the highest because of his just absolute speed, his youth, his freshness, all that stuff. So not that he could be better day one than Dalvin Cook, but he's pretty. I think the kid's special.
There needs to be a pathway, and I agree with you. And there needs to be a pathway for Achane to get on the field if he's ready. Now, if there are rookie setbacks or injuries, that's obviously a completely different situation. And I agree with you too that Jeff Wilson is probably more attractive in a trade, because he is you're talking about somebody between two teams had, almost 1,100 total yards last year, and has been a really good, powerful system running back here in the NFL. I think that's worth a 7th round pick and $2 million for one of the 31 other NFL teams. So I'm predicting Jeff Wilson to be off the roster, either by being cut or by being traded. So Dalvin Cook, Raheem Mostert, and Devon Achane are the 3 running backs I have on the roster.
So only 3. Dolphins only carry 3 then.
Oh yeah, Myles Gaskin and Savon Ahmed. I don't even know what they're doing here. To be honest with you,
I don't know. I remember Myles Gaskin being pretty good. I just don't know if he can ever be as good as we saw him, 3 years ago or whatever it was, that he was the most productive all-purpose back there for a while. But I got to have these guys around.
I'll tell you, I was surprised that Myles Gaskin, for what he did in 2020 and 2021, and he wasn't a star performer by any level, but you're talking about somebody in over a span of 2 years had almost 2,000 rushing and receiving yards over those 2 years. And the best contract that he could get was 1 year, $950,000 with $0 guaranteed. If he gets cut, he does not make $1 this year,
poor guy.
Which is incredible. I've always been a lower on Myles Gaskin than a lot of people, but I thought at least you get a contract for some guaranteed money somewhere.
To me, if he ends up getting cut, there's a team that's going to scoop him up, and he's going to claw from the bottom of that depth chart to RB2 or RB3, waiting in the wing for someone to go down. And I could see him on like the Chargers or something like that as one of their guys and just a role player and being effective, or even Denver. If we cut him, Denver scoop him up. I don't know. I've always liked his skill set. I know he's not the fastest. I know he's not the biggest. I know he ain't the strongest, but he's good enough to get the job done. And you're right. It is fun. So, okay, we're only carrying 3 running backs then.
3
That's
running
crazy.
backs.
And we're putting Cook on the team.
Yeah, absolutely. And are we doing this? I mean, I can do either way. Are we combining for a 53 here, or are we
Yes,
going?
let's combine for a 53. So right now we
Sounds
have 4 plus the 3. So now we have 7.
Okay, so let's go back to quarterback. Obviously, Tua's here. Mike White is a lock to make the roster because of the guaranteed money and everything. I mean, and fun fact with Mike White too is he is played in 8 NFL games, and he has had over, I believe, 230 yards passing in 7 of those 8 games. It's interesting. I like him. I think he's an upgrade over Bridgewater.
I would agree. Not what I would have thought, saying Mike White's an upgrade over Bridgewater, because I had a lot of, high hopes for what Bridgewater was at one time. He has just completely fallen off a cliff, though. He is just not the guy. He looks like he is soaking wet, moving in slow motion out there when he played for the Dolphins. So I would agree with that. No, you don't think Skylar Thompson can overtake him in the depth chart, huh?
Maybe.
And I know it's uphill battle with the
well,
contract and the system.
I think it's more likely Skylar Thompson gets cut than beats out Mike White, I'll say.
Okay. So we'll carry two. Dolphins aren't going to carry three quarterbacks this year. I mean, we do have personally an injury-prone type of quarterback as QB1.
I've got time. If on my predictions, I had Skylar Thompson making the team as the third guy. And, there's really not a lot of competition for that. And when you look at the 49ers and Mike Shanahan historically, they've and with what the Dolphins did last year, they've always kept 3 quarterbacks. So I'd be shocked if Skylar Thompson is not on the team.
Okay, so we're going to keep only 3 running backs, but 3 quarterbacks.
Correct.
So I would agree with that. So now we're sitting at what 4, 5.
And we can, probably at the end of this exercise here, we're going to be debating over 3 or 4 positions because we.
100%,
51. So I'm not ironclad on a lot of these things. I can be swayed. But Skylar Thompson too. I mean, you're talking about somebody who has started a playoff game for the Dolphins last year. Didn't obviously perform very well, but somebody who is mobile and has experience here in the system. It's hard to see them not replacing him with somebody else around the league, given those circumstances. And also, too, one of the few rule changes in the NFL this year is now you can carry 3 quarterbacks on your game day roster without it affecting your body count as far as the regular season. Or as far as that week. So you're not going to lose a roster spot by keeping Skylar Thompson as your third quarterback. I think that also helps keep him on the team too, even if he doesn't perform all that great in preseason.
Yeah, smart by the NFL. Can't be in a circumstance like they were last year, having running backs be quarterbacks. They need to keep a third guy to keep the league what it is, entertaining, competitive, and all that good stuff. I think this is the first move of a million of other smaller moves that are going to expand the rosters, expand the money, expand the NFL. There's going to be an international game. They're doing it bit by bit. So right now we got 3 running backs, 3 quarterbacks, a punter, a kicker, a long snapper. What position group is next?
Yeah, if we keep going down the list, I mean, I'm sure we're in agreement. Alec Ingold and Alec Ingold only will be the fullback on the team.
Oh, yes. I am 100% on that. I mean, who's the other fullback? Love it. It's
John.
How's that guy still around? How's that guy still around?
And look, I can't recall the last time a team has kept a backup fullback in the last 10 or 15 years. It's not going to happen. Usually you have a worst case scenario. You put Christian Wilkins in there for a couple of plays.
I would think that the backup fullback on this team is Durham Smythe.
Yeah.
That's who I think.
It's all interchangeable with that. And look, Lovett might be on the practice squad because hey, if something happens to Ingold and you want to keep somebody like that around, great. But yeah, so one fullback, and then it gets to wide receiver, probably my favorite debatable position here. Because the way I see it is that you've got three mortal locks to make the team: Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and Braxton Berrios.
The money, the everything. Look, you can't look at Braxton Berrios and not see the similarities in the two guys that are in front of him as far as route running, hands, just effectiveness, inside, outside, underneath, all that stuff. They didn't bring him in here to try out for this football team. They brought him in here because the guy's a scheme fit. He's a hard friggin' worker, and he's very affordable for what I think they're going to get out of him. So, yeah, I would agree with that.
I loved that signing. And
oh, man, me too.
I mean, you're talking who just, a year ago was an all-pro as a punt returner. I mean, I know you shouldn't prioritize punt returner that much, but when a guy is
3 phases of the game, baby, phases of the game.
Yeah. And you look at that game too, in Miami with, when the Dolphins barely won 31-24 in 2021, they ran their entire offense through Braxton Berrios in the first half against the Dolphins, and they were winning.
He chewed us up. He chewed us up.
Yep.
He was making Miami pay, saying, you should have got me, boy. He was trying out for the team is what he was. He knew his time wasn't there forever.
I could not believe he was available for as cheap as he was, not only with the Jets re-signed him for last year, but on this team. And when you look at roster probabilities, you have to look at what the team said with their wallet. And when you're guaranteeing Braxton Berrios $3 million with an additional $500,000 if he makes the team, that's a lock when you consider he's a third, fourth receiver. Even if he plays poorly in the preseason or in training camp, he's still making the team, because he's at least going to be your fifth or sixth receiver,
So with that statement, I would say the next wide receiver that is a lock is Cedric Wilson because of the money. And that is a thorn in Dolphin fans' side right now. It is the stone in our shoe named Cedric Wilson because we have buyer's remorse since day one of getting this guy. Now, we talk about Braxton Berrios, all-pro punter. That's what we were having Cedric Wilson do, who I would say didn't do as bad as I thought he was going to do as a punt returner. Just kind of awkward seeing a punt returner be so big. You know what I'm saying? So
absolutely. And seeing him run up and catch that punt in the Bills playoff game and take it. I mean, that was a self-made play right there. Now,
I was impressed.
It was one of the only couple of plays he made during the season, but there was another play too where he made that catch in traffic in the first game at Buffalo too. There were some signs of him making plays. Now, overall, was he a massive disappointment? Of course he was for the money he was signed for, but it comes back to the money where if you cut Cedric Wilson, you're still paying him $6 million. If he's on the team, as you know, you're paying him an additional $2 million. So
I thought he was getting 7, but he could make that extra 2 with incentives.
I'm going to defer to you on that. It's either 1 or 2 million more that he would get by being on the team.
Mm-hmm. I think we already passed the point of no return for it being that million. I don't know. I can't remember exactly all the details. Either way, they've already guaranteed too much money to let him go. That's 2 Braxton Berrioses around here. You can't go wasting 2 Braxton Berrios kind of money. So he's going to be on this team.
I agree with you. And to stay on Cedric Wilson, my question is kind of going back to the running back spot where if the Dolphins sign Dalvin Cook and have an opportunity to trade Mostert or Jeff Wilson, are you going to do that with Cedric Wilson? Would you trade him?
Oh my God, I would have already traded him. Honestly.
Okay, so 7th round swap, salary cap dump, you would do the same thing.
I might, look,
I would.
As the good American capitalist I am, I might look to capitalize on a team wanting Cedric Wilson or excuse me, wanting Jeff Wilson and or Raheem Mostert and saying, well, you know what? You got to take Cedric Wilson with you too, and I'll throw in. You give me a 7th, and I'll give you a 5th, or something like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just to unload all that money, that would be that, and that's a Chris Greer type of savvy move. If he could pull something like that off, I would be mega impressed. We signed Dalvin Cook and trade Raheem Mostert and Cedric Wilson, giving away a 5th and receiving a 7th. Everybody would applaud that type of move. So, that would be something very interesting.
That is the exact Aqib Talib trade from 3
That's
years.
right. That's right.
So, yeah,
great.
That is the exact compensation for that. So, and you look at a team like, for example, team he came from, the Cowboys. There were some rumors that the Cowboys might have been a little bit regretful of not re-signing him, and obviously he had
Jerry Jones came out on his radio show that he does locally around there and said he missed Cedric Wilson's production. They had asked him about it. Oh, Cedric Wilson, would you be interested in trading for him? He goes, we miss his production in Dallas. So it's been all but confirmed at that point.
Yeah. So, I don't like to just randomly throw out, oh, we're going to just trade this guy and get this, blah, blah, blah. But it's like, I look at Cedric Wilson and think, man, I think somebody would cough up something or could one of the 31 teams would do that because he's still a young, athletic, long wide receiver who was on the up and up, before 9 months ago. So
yeah, I just wonder, is it the scheme he's struggling with? Is it the chemistry between him and Tua? I don't know, but there is something that isn't working with Cedric Wilson with the Dolphins. I can't now. Do they see something else this year in camp? Are they going, we're going to get a lot of work out of him? I don't know. But for the time being, we'll put him on as the 4th wide receiver because he's going to have to stick around unless a mountain of miracle is moved. So who do you have as the 5th wide receiver?
So the interesting thing is Robbie Anderson, whatever the guy has changed his name so many times over the last couple of years. I can't even keep track of him here, but this has been a star in OTAs and minicamp. And
yeah, he's been showing up and showing out. And not to mean to cut you off, but Miami is where he desperately wanted to be. Desperately. By family, everything. I don't know. Did you ever see the video where he unveiled the Miami Dolphins jersey in front of his family on his, I think it was his Instagram page? He was moved. He was so excited. His family was excited. And there was rumors beforehand how he was desiring to have some kind of comeback with the Dolphins. So,
yeah, I didn't see that, but I'm sure if he showed his family that jersey, he probably had to restitch it 3 times because he kept changing his goddamn name. But he does offer something a little bit different in that, one criticism with the Dolphins' first 3 receivers is that they're short. Tyreek Hill's small, Jalen Waddle's small, Braxton Berrios is too. We'll obviously take the pros over the cons in that category, but Robbie Anderson's 6'3". Cedric Wilson's also a tall guy too.
Yeah.
But the way I see it is a competition between Cedric Wilson and Robbie Chosen for that 4th wide receiver spot. But Robbie Chosen has to beat him out clean by a very wide margin because these guys are not going to play special teams. Cedric Wilson is not going to return punts with Berrios here. And Robbie Chosen is only if you cut him, you're only paying him $150,000. If you cut Cedric Wilson, you're paying him $6 million anyway. So there's a financial part of that. So I think if Cedric Wilson does not get traded in some scenario, I think Robbie Chosen ends up getting cut unless he is just out of this world as the 3rd receiver here at training camp.
So just seeing what I've seen out of Mike McDaniel's year one in his offense. And I think he has a real understanding for giving the tools to Tua that he thinks he needs or knows he needs, I would say. That Braylon Sanders, aka Slim Reaper type of wide receiver out there, is something I think they want. And that Tua wants or needs, and that's something they've implemented in the offense. I think it's a real big reason why we saw Braylon Sanders play, way more than we saw. What's his name that we drafted out of Texas Tech last year? I'm blanking on his name.
Ezukama,
yeah, Easy E. So to me, I think both guys make the roster, especially because of what I'm hearing about Chosen Anderson out of camp as of late. And it's Braylon Sanders that has no shot to make it now because of what Chosen has done. And that those guys will be 4 and 5. And honestly, because of the running backs and because of what I think they're going to keep in tight ends, I think they keep an extra wide receiver this year too. On offense.
Yeah. And so you're talking about Wilson and Chosen being 4th and 5th.
That's right. I think that's what happens.
Right. I don't think Braylon Sanders has much of a shot.
No, he's a practice squad guy. If he makes it and Chosen doesn't, that kid's going to be fire. That's all I know. Because I think they're all super high on Chosen Anderson. And they need that type of weapon. Also, I take into consideration the tall, lengthy guy that they're going to want to get these jump balls in what they've lost out of the production of Mike Gesicki. We as Dolphin fans are super critical of Mike Gesicki, and rightfully so, because he's a tight end. But what we asked or wanted him to do is be very effective with catching balls with a big radius. And we have now lost that. And now I think we need that with what I know Chosen Anderson can do. So to me, he makes the roster for those two reasons. One, Braylon Sanders and how they want to scheme and use a guy like that. And 2, Mike Gesicki. So those snaps got to go to somebody big, tall, lengthy with a good catch radius, and Chosen's the guy to me.
Yeah, I see. When it comes to him, Chosen Anderson, even though he's 6'3", he a lot of times does not play to that size. He's been more of kind of that vertical threat, more in kind of that Cedric Wilson type of role. I mean, his body type is kind of like Cedric Wilson. He's not a big, thick guy. But what's interesting about Chosen Anderson is that, this was an undrafted free agent coming out of college. I mean, he immediately caught 43 passes in his first year, 60-something in his second year. His career kept getting better and better and better. I mean, and just 2 years ago, he was an 1,100-yard receiver. And then his career completely fell off the track. And now he's back into that role again where he has to play with a chip on his shoulders and prove everyone. And he has to do it in an offense that was, top 6 in yards last year, where everything was clicking. You don't have to be the guy anymore. You just got
to make good on your opportunities. That's it.
Yeah, you just have to beat one-on-one coverage. That's pretty much it. So
he was the only weapon for the Jets there for a little while. Anderson, he chewed us up there a couple of games. So I think if he can get back to that form, he's making his football team. So who else?
On my final prediction here, I had 7 wide receivers making the roster. Usually he keeps 6.
I'm there with you.
I mean, because I think Eric Ezukama has just too much rawness and too much talent to cut at the beginning of his second year. He could get, he's not a lock to make the roster, but I think that he sticks. And then the 7th guy for me is River Craycraft and part of it is that, look, the Dolphins are not going to keep, 6 or 7 wide receivers with none of them having the ability to play special teams. Somebody has to do that. Somebody has to be a specialist. I think River Craycraft is that guy. So 7 wide receivers: Waddle, Hill, Berrios, Cedric Wilson, Chosen Anderson, Eric Ezukama, River Craycraft. I'm keeping 7 there. I'm willing to budge on some if you've got an alternate opinion.
No, I mean, other than, Freddie Swain or Swan or whatever, figuring something out, I have zero pushback. Or Braylon Sanders, getting it in. I mean, okay, if River Craycraft goes down or gets nicked up for any reason, ends up on, IR, we'll even say, and they hold him that way. Maybe they don't even hold 7 and they just, they apply that to somewhere on the offensive line and hold an extra offensive lineman or something. But I would agree that if they're keeping 7, those are the 7. And if they're going to only keep 6, it's really a toss-up to me between whether it's Craycraft or Ikuzama. And for the reasons you say of special teams ability plus just familiarity with the offense, I would say River Craycraft edges out Ikuzama if they only keep 6. So as far as depth goes,
possible, yeah.
Yeah, as far as depth goes, I would say he's the 6th man and Easy E is the 7th. I don't know why they haven't converted Easy E to a tight end, personally. I think the kid's he's young. I think he could put on a little bit more weight. He's not a real speedster. If he can get really good at blocking, he could be great at that. So let's go ahead and keep 7 with the wide receivers.
Yeah, and now we get to the tight ends here, and we can agree that Durham Smythe is a mortal lock to make the roster. And then from there, I think there are 2 different competitions that take place within that position. One is Eric Saubert versus Tyler Croft for that number 2 inline blocking tight end type of guy. And then there is Tanner Connor.
And the new guy, Higgins.
And Higgins for that move developmental receiving tight end. Now, it's not impossible that the Dolphins end up keeping 4 tight ends, but in my scenario, I've got him keeping 3, cutting Tyler Croft and cutting Tanner Connor. Hopefully you can get a Tanner Connor back on the practice squad.
So you think Higgins edges out against Tanner Connor then?
Yeah, based on
athleticism. And I would say athleticism too.
Not necessarily, because Tanner Connor physically might even be better than Higgins, but the Dolphins thought enough of Higgins to make him a 6th round pick. And 6th round picks rarely get cut unless they absolutely show nothing here in preseason.
Okay, so I agree with you. I think Durham Smythe is clear cut number 1. I think Solbert makes the team, and I would say Higgins over Connor. I don't know. Connor, to me, he could be. You could turn around and wish you had the guy, or you could turn around and never remember his name. He's one of those, trivia questions you ask at some point, But let's ride with 3. And let's go with the 3 we discussed. I agree with you on that. Higgins, Sober, and Smythe. I think that's the group, especially because you got to remember too, Alec Ingold, ipso facto, and the fullback position takes up that one position. Usually comes out of the tight end room.
Yeah, and Saubert and Croft, as far as what they bring to the table, there's not a big difference. But again, you go back to the money. Tyler Croft is basically a glorified tryout, $25,000 guaranteed, versus Eric Saubert, who has guaranteed $850,000. So when you take that into account, and Saubert was signed a lot earlier in free agency, where Croft was, a full month later, that's what gives Saubert the edge going into training camp.
So right now, we're at 20 roster spots. We'll say 17. No, we'll say 16 of them because there's the 4. No, we'll say 17 because there's the 3 positions that are special teams positions, 17 of which are all offensive weaponry. We still have the O-line. We've kept 7 wide receivers, only 3 tight ends. How many offensive linemen do you think they keep?
I go back and forth between 8, 9, or 10 even.
Wow,
because of the amount of bodies in camp. And this is one where I'm definitely going to need your help on, because there are 7 locks and maybe an 8th lock as far as the roster, because Armstead, Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Hunt, Austin Jackson, Dan Feeney, and Isaiah Wynn, all on the team.
Isaiah Wynn, all on the team. That's only 6.
So the starting 5: Armstead, Eichenberg, Connor Williams, Robert Hunt, Austin Jackson.
Yep.
That's starting 5. And then Dan Feeney is the 6th guy.
Dan Feeney. Okay, yeah.
And Isaiah Wynn.
Isaiah Wynn. Okay, so there is 7. So Eichenberg, bubble guy at this point.
I have no problem with him being a bubble guy.
No, I don't think anybody does.
But also his positional versatility and the fact that he's on a rookie contract, I think, saves him.
I think so too.
You know, it's yeah. I mean, they're also cross training him at center. I mean, center, guard, tackle. If this guy were making $3 or $4 million a year, I would say he's probably off the roster. In fact, he is off the roster with where he is in his career. But rookie contract, making only a couple of $1 million. I think he's on. And then a question I posed the other day on Twitter, where I got a lot of just polarized responses, was, is Robert Jones a lock to make the team at $1 million? A guy who played 520 snaps last year.
So to me, the affordability, I think he is a damn good right tackle in a pinch for a guy that if Austin Jackson falls down and Isaiah Wynn wins that left guard position like I think he will, I'm not going to ask Wynn to go play right tackle. I'm going to put Jones out there. So I mean, dang, dude, it's hard because Eichenberg and the positional and the rookie contract and where they drafted him and all that stuff. But to me, Robert Jones, I would keep over Eichenberg at this point. Just because of the guy's arm length. He seems like he's got the longest arms on the team. When he gets his hands fully extended on somebody, it just seems like they have no shot to reaching the guy. He's got great body posture when he's keying up on his blocks to keep their hands out of effectiveness. He's just good. Not so much the super athletic, but God, man, the guy is effective. To me, he's a lock on this team. We would be fools to let the guy go.
I completely agree. And, piggybacking on what you said, how many times have we said the Dolphins ruined that drive or lost that game because Robert Jones didn't get the job done? And he's played a lot of snaps on the team.
Never heard that. For a guy that always isn't coming in as the starter and you're thinking, we just got worse. I look at and it's like the guy has fixed things out there. He's never out of position. And to me, I don't understand how it hasn't ended up Roberts on the right with Robert Hunt and then Robert Jones. Now I get it with Austin Jackson needing to be afforded every opportunity to live up to his draft status and how everything rides on that. But if I'm Chris Grier, I ain't risking it. That if Austin Jackson falls apart again for whatever reason, I got Robert Jones to plug it in to look like a genius. So I would that's a save my job guy. So I would keep him around.
I've lobbied for that for a long time. Robert Jones at right guard, Robert Hunt at right tackle, or vice versa.
Robert's on the right, man. It got a ring to it and everything.
So now we've got our 8, and given Isaiah Wynn can play tackle, he can play guard. Robert Jones can play tackle, he can play guard. We've got the versatility covered. Dan Feeney, center, guard, got that versatility covered too.
Eichenberg plays all over, and he's taken snaps lately.
Yep. So the versatility there is covered across the board. So that's where I'm comfortable with 8 if need be. But you're talking about 3 other guys that the Dolphins re-signed, not for a lot of money.
Keon Smith is one of them that comes to mind. Coleman is the other guy.
Yeah. So Yeah. So you've got Cedric Abui, who in my opinion is terrible, and they guaranteed $0 to this year, so they can cut him outright. Jerron Christian, who they guaranteed $350,000 to, and you've got Kendall Lamb.
Kendall Lamb, that's who I was thinking of.
So those are 3 veterans who have seen a lot of seasons in the NFL. And I think it's possible you see a 3-man competition for that 9th roster spot between Jerron Christian, Cedric Abouye, and Kendall Lamb as that swing offensive tackle. But
yeah,
I'm good keeping 8 as well. And
you know who we're forgetting about right now?
Ryan Hayes.
That's right, the guy they drafted this year.
And then from that was what I was going to get to afterward. But Ryan Hayes, to me, it's him against himself, because if you think enough about a player, if a team thinks enough about a player in any of the 7 rounds to draft him, and they do draft him, and he plays well in the preseason, he plays well in training camp, they're keeping him on the roster. And Ryan Hayes is the same way.
Just for roster control of the draft capital. Plus, he's young.
All right, so I'm going to throw it back to you then. You know my 8. You can go to 9 to 10, or keep it at 8.
We're gonna go at 9. 10. I don't see him putting 10 on this roster.
Who's your 9th guy?
My 9th guy, if it's not Hayes, because again, I think it's his job to lose on draft status alone. All these other guys are in their 30s, maybe not what's his name, but they're all journeymen, for lack of a better term. So to me, if they end up getting cut, 1 or 2, or maybe even all 3 are still available after the purging of rosters and getting picked up and going to be able to be put back on the practice squad. To me, Hayes has probably been scouted by plenty of these teams. If he went undrafted, there was probably a bunch of teams that were going to, offer him a contract. You cut him, he is gone. You are not putting him on your practice squad. So to me, he will become the 9th man, and that'll be the final man.
Yeah, we're going to stick with that then. And now we've got the defensive side of the ball.
Well, let's take a break. We just passed the hour mark. I'll put you in the back. I'm going to do the rundown, and I'll see you in about 5 minutes. So, all right, guys, if you're enjoying the conversation, make sure you're hitting the like button and sharing the video. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, or Twitter, come over to YouTube, subscribe over here on the YouTube network, and make sure you guys are hitting the like button. There's also great ways to, support the channel. And there's also, you could do it through Super Chat. You could join the membership. We appreciate all the memberships, lifeblood of the network, keeping the lights on around here, paying the internet bill. But yeah, guys, also make sure to check out all the great content we are trying to provide around here. We got myself, El Capitan, with the Fins Tailgate, coming at you in the evening and late nights. You got Color doing some morning stuff with Ali with the top of the tailgate in the mornings, hosted by Ali with co-host Color Commentary. You guys can also catch Color doing some other stuff here and there. You got KP, newest member of the Fins Tailgate. He'll be getting done with some family affairs stuff and coming out with some programming of his own here soon. And then you guys already know, in the afternoons, you can find Shake Money along with Lou, a.k.a. the Rabbit Dolphin, doing some awesome stuff on the weekends, on the evenings, doing the drive time, getting you guys home from traffic with the drive time, also with the Smoke Lounge coming at you. Cash App, Venmo, the Fins Tailgate, another great way to help support the channel. And also, guys, there's other ways to support the channel too. Finding the link for Fanatics, our officially licensed partner. You guys use the link. It lets them know we sent you, and we always appreciate that. You guys can also find it on the website, TFTGnetwork.com. All of our affiliates are available at TFTGnetwork.com, and a lot of guidance and stuff like that. Also, guys, Dubby, our friends at Dubby Energy Drink, get yourself a doobie with a Dubby and get some energy and take your pre-workout and get it in like the kid. Use offer code TFTG to get 10% off your purchase. And then also, guys, our friends at Backroom Collection, one-of-a-kind canvas artwork by, celebrating your Miami Dolphins. Good stuff for your man cave or your she shed. Use offer code TFTG to get 10% off of your purchase there. And again, guys, like I said, make sure you guys are checking out the website. We have new gear coming all the time, new shirts, new tank tops, celebrating all the shows and the network on the tanks. Also, Cooking Fools from the Rabid Dolphin. We got, oh, wait, that's not on there. Boom, there it is right there. Cooking Folk from the Rabid Dolphin. You guys can catch all this good stuff on TFTGnetwork.com.
Get ready to dive into a new role of online shopping with the Fins Tailgate. Whether you're a die-hard sports fan or just looking for the latest fashion trends, we've got you covered. With a wide variety of products from your favorite sports teams to stylish accessories and home decor, we're your one-stop shop for all things tailgate. Our easy-to-use website and hassle-free checkout process make shopping with us a breeze. Plus, with frequent sales and discounts, you won't want to shop anywhere else. So come on in and join the party at the Fins Tailgate, your new go-to destination for all things tailgate.
And shout out to John Ailman with the $2 doney. Appreciate it, John. Good seeing you around the yonder again. Great show, Cap, he says. Thank you, my friend. Bringing Cat back up here. And we appreciate it, guys. Always donations. Get your questions in. Great way to get noticed in chat. And, join the membership. Become a member of the program. We always appreciate that. How do you find me on YouTube? Right there, buddy. The Fins Tailgate. Type it into your YouTube and you can find us right away, John. Come on over. So yeah. All right. So let's go down the rundown real quick and we'll add this up and see where we sit. So offense, we have 3 quarterbacks. We have 3 running backs, giving us 6, plus a fullback, giving us 7. We also have 7 wide receivers, giving us 14. Then we have 3 tight ends and 9 offensive linemen. So where are we at? 17, 26. So we're at 26 plus a kicker, 27, long snapper, 28, and a punter, 29.
So now we're going to have to get a little bit thinner here on the defensive side of the ball. As far as numbers. Now
we put 2 extra guys in position groups right here. We got 1 extra in the O-line and 1 extra in the wide receivers. Where are they going to make where are we going to trim this fat?
Because they don't have to trim the fat is the great thing about it, because there's a lot of position flexibility along the front 7. So as far as because this is where it gets hairy, because as far as the front 7 is, are we talking about Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips as a 4-3 defensive or as a defensive end or as an outside linebacker? Or are we talking about Zach Sealer as a defensive tackle or a defensive end? So it's probably best to take the entire front 7 in totality. And the way I see it is, as far as the edge players, you've got 3 locks. You've got Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, and Emmanuel Ogbah. And only Ogbah, obviously, because
the money.
And what a reserve if you're talking about somebody who you can't get rid of.
Oh no, I know, bro. And Ogbah, for people who forgot how many times that guy got pressures, got sacks, got his hand on the football in the passing lanes, and they use him as an ipso facto defensive end that also can play inside. He is big enough and strong enough to be the inside man, where you can have a stacked formation where to his left is Bradley Chubb. And you got a speed package there with size that can rival any front four or front five in the NFL right now. So that's something to be excited about.
Yeah, the only weakness with Sealer, Davis, and Wilkins as a three-man front in this Vic Fangio defense is that on third down, you may not have somebody who can put their hand in the ground and get to the quarterback. But Emmanuel Ogbah solves that problem.
He does.
If he's healthy. So you've got, is Ogbah a defensive lineman? Is he an outside linebacker?
I just call him a damn good weapon to have. That's what we're going to say. He's a guy you like to have around. He's a guy who earned the money he's going to receive this year. So whether he's price pointed himself out of the Dolphins the following year is yet to be seen. Everybody will feel differently. There's a lot of people saying, "Oh, you can move off the Ogbah contract, and that's how you're going to pay Wilkins." And I'm sorry, everybody might be singing a different tune when Ogbah's not asked to eat up double teams on anywhere, and he's getting unnoticed because there's Bradley Chubb and Christian Wilkins and or Zach Sealer or someone else to account for. He gonna make people pay if they try to one-on-one this guy, and he can get free releases on the edge over to come at quarterbacks. He gonna hurt somebody. So he looking to earn that money and make sure he stays a Dolphin too. Don't forget.
He's going to earn that money for 1 year because you're going to cut him after the year and save like $12, $13 million. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but
Now I wonder. That gives the Dolphins leverage to renegotiate. So would Ogbah renegotiate because he wants to stay here? If there's that second year potential run for a championship, I think they renegotiate with him and keep him for another year. And they kick the can down the road again. They work out some of the numbers and stuff to where it's even less money on the books and could save even more in the following year. That's just how I would play that.
He would have to renegotiate in a way that is basically pennies added onto his contract, unfortunately, because Ogbah is going to be going into his 8th year this year. He's going to be 30 this year. I don't see him playing well into being 31, 32, 33 years old, but that's a conversation for another day. Because he's a fantastic movable chess piece to have in this defense because he's a hybrid outside linebacker / defensive end. But looking at this here, I'm sure we can agree that as far as the edge and defensive tackle, Zach Sealer, Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, Emmanuel Ogbah, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb are all locks. All 6 of those guys.
Yes. I can't even fathom somebody breaking that 6 in any way, shape, and form. There is guys that I think we're all kind of high on, and we're the potential, some of these dudes. But if we're looking to cut this roster, there's our 6 right there. So D-line 6.
So also,
is there a guy you can see making in the D tackle? I know you're going to say him.
Yeah. I mean, Andrew Van Ginkel, is he an edge? Is he an edge outside linebacker, defensive end, or
Not
is he
anymore.
an off-ball linebacker?
I think they're going to put him at off-ball linebacker.
I agree. So let's move him back.
Yes.
On that. So as far as defensive line, I've got Sealer, Davis, and Wilkins. And then Emmanuel Ogbah I classify as a defensive lineman. And then I have a 5th guy making the team. He's because undrafted free agents are going to make this team. At least 1 or 2 of them. We've already had one of them, Michael Turk, make it. But I think Brandon Peely gives himself a really good shot here because
I would say I would agree with you with position need as a defensive tackle rotation guy. I have 6 for the position. I have a 7 written next to it just because maybe we can work it down. But I'm already thinking of that. I kept 2 more guys in 2 different position groups in the O line and in the and in the wide receiver room. That's going to be a guy as an undrafted dude that won't make the team because of the roster positioning. So we'll call it 7 for now. But to me, he's the first guy I'm looking at to take off the 53-man roster because although he's a guy I think could make some noise and get some playing time, I don't think unless he shows up and shows out in preseason, we're like, we cannot let this guy go. Is he going to be any different than another guy that gets cut somewhere else, like the Ravens, who tend to have 12 defensive tackles into camp that we can get and maybe envision as our next Zach Sealer? You know what I'm saying? So let's keep him there for 7 for now.
Yeah. So when you say 7, you're talking about Sealer, Davis, Wilkins, Phillips, Chubb, Agba, and some guy I'm missing here as far as defensive line and
Davis, right? Sealer, Christian Wilkins, Chubb, Phillips, and Agba are 6, and then the 7th guy is the UDFA. So there's our front, our 7 D linemen.
Yeah. So Peely again. Look, anyone who's an undrafted free agent is one bad practice away from getting cut. But
that's right.
The other side of the coin is they thought enough of this guy to give him $100,000 in guaranteed money as an undrafted free agent. Which means they almost drafted him in the 7th round.
And the last guy they did that to was Robert Jones that they gave money.
There were 2 guys. The 2 last guys they did it to were Robert Jones and Kader Kohu.
Oh, that's right.
With no exceptions. Those are the last
Guaranteed.
2 guys. So that doesn't mean that he's going to make the roster or he's a shoo-in or anything like that. But they thought enough of him in this type of scheme to bring him in. He's going to be competing against 2 guys, Brandon Peely is. And that's 2 guys who were drafted in the NFL here a couple of years ago. Josiah Bronson, he was drafted from the Cowboys. He's played with the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Browns. He's had a career 182 snaps.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to show for yet, but he's got some experience and he was drafted. Jalen Twyman is an interesting story because this is somebody who is an all ACC player in 2019 and was thought to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick, did not have a good season. Then in 2021, he got drafted by the Vikings, then got shot 4 times.
No shit.
He got shot 4 times. It didn't make it back with the Vikings, was cut, and is now a Miami Dolphin.
He's only 23 years old.
Yeah, so he's been through a lot. And at one time, he was thought as a really high caliber player in the NFL. So somebody to watch out for. More than likely, the Dolphins end up getting another defensive tackle or 3-4 defensive end in free agency. And one guy to keep an eye on, too, is somebody who won't go away. He's the Isaiah Ford of the defense, and that's John Jenkins.
Yes.
Because he's with the Raiders now, and he's in a competition with 5 or 6 defensive tackles for that spot. But if he gets cut, this is also somebody who played in 2018 for the Bears under Vic Fangio. So there is some familiarity there.
Great point. Yeah. And I mean, he's been on the Dolphins like 14 times right now. So it seems like he won't go away. He is definitely the Isaiah Ford. So let's keep that at 7. Let's move on to linebackers.
So off-ball linebacker, I mean, I've got 4 locks as far as off-ball linebackers. Long, David Long, Jerome Baker, Andrew Van Ginkel, Duke Riley. I have to consider a lock because somebody who's been around.
He never goes away. Duke Riley just always wins. They bring in people to compete with him, and he wins.
And he's a really good special teamer too. And again, talking with the wallet, $1.6 million guaranteed.
Financially, it makes sense.
Are you going to cut him for no reason? They basically, whether he's on the team or not, you're paying him almost $2 million.
And he stepped nicely as a leader on this team as well. He's a big guy, team guy as well, and they need to maintain as many of those guys they can. Losing Roberts, who was the linebacker that led a lot of that stuff. Duke Riley, I think, has stepped in and taken that mouthpiece role a little bit as the rah type of guy that you're going to need in the linebacking core. Who's your fourth guy?
Yeah, so Long, Baker, Van Ginkel, Riley, and whether he's an inside or outside linebacker in this Fangio scheme, Channing Tindall still has too much talent to not, it would be a stunner if he ended up getting cut. It's not impossible, but
Malik Reed may be taking his job.
Oh, you see, this is where I get confused with edge and everything. Malik Reed, I also have on the team too.
Okay, so we're gonna go with 5 then.
Yeah, 5, because Malik Reed I consider more of an edge player, but off ball line. Malik Reed, Channing Tindall both make the team. So as far as the front 7, if we're putting Ogba as a defensive end, I've got Sealer, Raekwon Davis, Christian Wilkins, Emmanuel Ogba, Brandon Peely as those 5 guys.
And then defensive tackle or defensive end.
Yeah. And then at edge, Jalen Phillips, Bradley Chubb, Malik Reed, and then off-ball linebacker, Long, Baker, Van Ginkel, Riley, and Tindall.
So 4. Okay. All right. So right now we've got 12 defensive guys.
I think so. I'm gonna double count that here. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, we've got 12.
Man, this so now we can this is where it gets easier. Well, actually, no, partially easier and partially a little bit more crazy as far as what I have predicted.
So do you want to do cornerbacks or safeties first?
Let's do cornerbacks.
All right, let's do CBs.
I'm sure we can agree on, let's see, 5 very easily.
So I'll rattle off the names. You tell me. We've got, obviously, Howard. Obviously, Jalen Ramsey. So there's 2. Cam Smith. He's definitely making this team. There's 3. Kader Kohu is a lock. The guy played too damn good. We can get it around. The 5th guy is where it gets a little dicey. Is Nick Needham far enough in his recovery? Do they put Nick Needham in as a safety? I think they could. To me, Nick Needham is a lock to make the team as the 5th guy. I think he edges out Trill Williams if it comes to that.
If Nick Needham is anywhere close to where he played before his injury, he is not only a lock, but probably somebody who is going to play 50 to 60% of defensive snaps, even with how crowded the secondary is. He was that good. I mean, he was turning into one of the best nickelbacks in the NFL.
He was.
He's
and
also,
his position versatility is amazing because I've seen him put him on the outside. It's not where I want him to play, but he ain't getting exposed out there. Yeah, he's getting caught on, but he ain't getting burned on the outside. He's smart enough to keep his hips fluid and make sure that he's keeping them in front of him with these speedier guys. And we also seen him drop in as safety and be effective. So you can't let a guy like that go unless he has some major medical setback with his recovery, and that doesn't appear to be what's going on. To me, he is the 5th guy. It is kind of a shame because I think that costs Trill Williams his job, and when we break down the rest of these guys, but maybe not. We'll have to add up the numbers when we got there. I've been trying to keep numbers, but I don't want to at the same time. Want to get kind of surprised. We're at 55. We messed up, So yeah. So we'll go 5 CBs.
So I'm going more on that, just a little bit more. So now the thing with Needham is that when he came out of college, out of UTEP, he ran a 4.67. That's why he went undrafted. This is somebody who it's not a surprise. He's not somebody known for his speed, and he's overcome that. My argument is that, and I have Needham on the team, so no spoilers on that. But with Nick Needham, if he loses a step and he goes from a 4.67 player to somebody who has lost a step, he's out of the league. He can't play anymore.
Not even safety.
And not even safety, no, because
wow.
he just it's the level of awareness needed for that to happen is definitely not a lock. But I do see him making a full recovery. All reports to this point have been good. So I think that he does make the team. So, but there is a downside to that too. And the rest of the league has spoken. Nick Needham was out there for several days, and the only thing he could get from the Dolphins
is to prove it.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, 800,000 guaranteed or so, and overall 1 year, $1.3 million. So he's not a lock, but I do have him making the team as the 5th defensive back as well.
I am rooting for the guy big time. I think, to me, if he makes a full recovery, he can be that ipso facto nickel / third safety that can slide in packages as a third linebacker, aka the jack role, and really make some noise in the center of the field, making sure that any of these crossers or anything like that aren't taking us underneath when we're running this 4-high zone shell. I really think he can do a lot of damage with this team. That allowing Ramsey to just roam at times. So,
and that is one of the most interesting competitions because Kader Kohou, I think, is going to get that boundary cornerback spot, that number 3 cornerback, which allows Jalen Ramsey to move into the slot and be the best slot cornerback in the NFL by far, which is so exciting to say. And that's why it's so important for Kader Kohou or anybody that's in that competition with them to make full use out of that. And get on the field.
The Cam Smith monkey wrench could be the greatest thing to happen for us, honestly. Yep. It really could.
And even if Cam Smith does not challenge Kader Kohou, that doesn't mean that next year he can't step up and then in 2025 be the reason that Xavier Howard is cut and the Dolphins save a lot of money from that. That's a conversation again for another day. So, but at quarterback, we've got Xavier Howard, Jalen Ramsey, Kader Kohou, Cam Smith, Nick Needham. We all agree on those 5, right?
I agree.
All right. So then still got a lot of cornerbacks on the roster. Keon Crossan.
No,
that was.
Brought in special teams guy, but you made an excellent point. The dollars don't make sense when it comes to Crossan with the money that can be saved by moving off the guy.
$3.2 million you can save today if you cut Keon Crossan. Why is he still here? I don't get it.
He's a special teams ace. That's what we brought him in last year. In a pinch, he played a lot of meaningful snaps, and I thought he did his job well. Not extraordinary and not great, but well enough to let them say, hey, you're under contract. You're going to stay here. God forbid Nick Needham has a massive setback. And then it becomes you and Nick Needham and Trill William have setbacks. Well, Keon Crossan, you have now made the roster. So I think that's the only reason he's here. But to me, he's a goner. The guy I think about that is a real question is Bethel, Justin Bethel, who I like. I like his fluidity. I like how he plays the game. But I don't think when because of Cam Smith and Kader Kohou, these younger guys, these other dudes are having a hard time sticking around when we're trying to trim the fat on this roster.
I've got Keon Crossan being cut. I've got Trill Williams being cut. And overall, the Dolphins keeping 7 cornerbacks.
7.
Yeah, 7.
Mm.
Justin Bethel is one of them, so he's the 6th guy.
Mm-hmm.
And Noah Igbenogany makes a team again for me.
Oh my God, I completely forgot about Noah Igbenogany.
Here's
the most forgettable guy. You know what? I'm gonna say no, and I'm gonna say Noah gets cut, and the Dolphins eat it and just say fuck him.
I can't disagree with that.
I mean, they have ate it up to this point. Man, how stupid is everybody gonna feel and look when Noah's out there just balling? Just balling, bro. How crazy. They'd be like, man, where'd all this talent come from? He just buds out of nowhere. He becomes a great.
Here's why I think personally he'll make the team is because he always plays his best football in August. And the Dolphins, again, are paying him $3 million, whether he's on the team or not. Yeah, he's probably going to get into the regular season and be absolute dog shit. But, yeah, it's not a hill I'm willing to die on. Believe me.
You know what I think I'm going to have me and the guys do? I think what we're going to do is across all social media, and this is just for Dolphin fans to hear this because we're going to need everybody's help. We are going to pump Noah Igbenogany up so much, but then go, geez, we just got Cam. Noah's could be a cap guy. Too bad, maybe a team be interested in trading for him. He's still on a rookie deal. He was a first-round draft pick. You could try to package this pedigree, and when him doing so great in August and so great in the preseason, getting all these snaps, maybe we can find a team desperate and dumb enough to make that trade and get something, even if it's a fucking 4th-round pick. I will feel like a winner if we get a 4th-rounder back from Noah Igbenogany at this point.
See, I've always been a sucker for a good number 3 back. It's why I like the Cam Smith pick. And my theory is that the Dolphins fans are so scarred with the Cam Smith pick because of Jamar Fletcher and because of Noah Igbenogany, even though both players could have gotten on the field and played 70% of snaps and put the defense over the top if they were any good. But I could go on a tangent with that.
So let's keep with the 7 then. And it's Noah. That's the 7th guy. I take it back. The D tackle is not my first cut. It is now Noah. Let's continue. We're going to safeties.
Yeah, so let's put Noah on the outside table because I'm keeping strict guidelines here on the 53. So I know we're on track here.
Okay.
So I know that we're good. So we've got 6 cornerbacks: Howard, Ramsey, Kohu, Smith, Needham, and Justin Bethel. We agree on those 6. So
I like it.
Igbenogany, let's put on this table over here for a second and go to the safeties. Obviously, Javon Holland,
Brandon Jones,
and Deshaun Elliott make the roster. Deshaun Elliott, $1.8 million guaranteed money, fully guaranteed. So unless there's a major problem with him in the scheme, which I don't foresee, that he's on the roster. Played over 1,000 snaps for the Lions last year. I mean, very, very impressive that he had that output and has the communication with Jones. So I'll throw it to you. Who do you have as the 4th or maybe 5th safety on this team?
Well, I only have 4. And to me, it's no contest. It's Verone McKinley. I think the general makes the cut. I think he's good. And I think the Dolphins and the defense, because of how important communication is in this defense to allow guys to, play in this zone, but also be able to communicate with each other during and, before the play and in between snaps to feel each other out and know how to work well with each other, that having that duo of Deshaun Elliott and Brandon Jones, and then now Javon Holland and Verone McKinley, you couldn't ask for a better communication amongst your safeties when you have these guys who have worked together like this. And it sets up an amazing scenario of great football play in the back end, holding teams, get quarterbacks thinking about those safeties at times.
Yeah, Verone McKinley is without question the odds-on favorite to be the 4 safety on the team. I'm interested to see if these 2 undrafted free agents, priority free agents, Keandre Smith from Kentucky and Ethan Bonner from Stanford, challenge him for that spot, because Veron McKinley is only 1 year removed from being an undrafted free agent. And he was impressive last year when he got on the team. Didn't make it originally, but was promoted from the practice squad and did a really good job. Keandre Smith is somebody who was a cornerback at Kentucky last year, 6'2", 201 pounds.
Big boy.
Yeah, and somebody who did not, in the SEC, started every game last year, did not allow a reception of over 25 yards last year. And at cornerback, at boundary cornerback, very physical, and somebody who the Draft Network had as a top 100 player all the way up until draft day, ended up going undrafted. Now he slides from boundary cornerback to safety with that same physicality. I'm fascinated to see how he performs. Ethan Bonner, 6'1", 195 pounds, runs a 4.39 40, and fits that mold as a gunner special teamer. So went to Stanford.
Runs a 4.39, man. You know the Dolphins love their 4.3 guys, dude. That's something just for the special teams you want to keep around. This could be a very interesting scenario, because I'll tell you what, if Higgins does make the roster, then a guy like Bonnet is his name.
Yeah, Ethan Bonner from Stanford.
Ethan Bonner, that's a guy that might be able to get the Dolphins to think about in that replacement special teams role by losing Tanner Connor on that 53. So do we have room for a 5th guy on our roster?
We do, if we cut either Veron McKinley or Noah Igbenogany. So overall, now that we've gotten down to the spot, we have a choice of, let's put Veron McKinley on the team, like we talked about here.
So we'll keep 4, but let's make a quick note here of the bubble guys, because we have some stacked rooms here in some areas. I think we have the one offensive lineman, that's the bubble guy, one of the holdovers, or the new guy, Hayes, could be a bubble guy. So we got one O lineman, bubble guy. We've got a wide receiver bubble, because we're keeping 7, not keeping 6. Typically, a lot of teams keep 6. Some teams keep 7. I would say that's Craycraft because of age. So we can say it's either Craycraft or Eazy-E. We could either say it's let me do this, Eazy-E and Kraft, and then we'll do Hayes. And who's another offensive lineman that could potentially be on the bubble there?
We agreed on Hayes being that 9th guy, and then Kendall Lamb, Agbui, Jerron Christian, Lester Cotton, they're all gone.
Okay, so let's just keep Hayes as that bubble guy then. We have defensive tackle has a bubble guy. We're looking at, what's his name? Peely?
Yep, Peely. We've got, if they don't keep somebody like Peely, they've got to sign somebody else.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a definite. The thing about it, like you said, though, is the guaranteed money as a UDFA makes them really high on keeping it. And then we have cornerback. And I'm going to put Noah, but I'm also going to put Bethel on that, because as much as I would rather keep Bethel over Noah, we can't deny the fact that Noah was a first-round draft pick. People want to be proved right. There's going to be sentiment that, hey, maybe with Fangio here, he knows exactly how he wants to use Noah. I can see the propaganda now. You know what I'm saying? To cutting Bethel and watching him go be on the Patriots. You know what I'm saying? Or whatever. Yeah. And us keeping Noah, who we don't see all season. So is there any other bubble guys that you can think of? I think that's it. Those 4 bubble guys, or 5 bubble guys. 6 bubble guys.
Really, the bubble guys come down to, largely defensive back, because that's where it gets really interesting, because Elijah Campbell is somebody too I've always liked. But I don't see him making the roster with the additions here. So Deshaun
So I would
Elliott.
say this, not to interrupt you. To me, Elijah Campbell and Justin Bethel are kind of neck and neck. I give Bethel the edge, but I like Elijah Campbell too. I think Elijah Campbell gets cut because maybe he makes it through the roster thing, through cuts and everything like that. Maybe they get him back. Maybe they cut both Bethel and Campbell and hope that one of them makes it through the 53-man roster purge.
Yeah. So to me, what it comes down to at the end here is you've got 8 defensive backs who, if Nick Needham comes back from injury, they're locks. Howard, Jalen Ramsey on the outside, Brandon Jones, Javon Holland at safety, backup cornerbacks, Kader Kohu, Cam Smith, Deshaun Elliott, and Nick Needham. You've got those 8 guys. And then from there, what you've got in competition is Noah Igbenogany, Justin Bethel, Veron McKinley, Trill Williams, high priority undrafted free agents, Keadron Smith and Ethan Bonner, and Elijah Campbell. So you've got so many defensive backs competing for what it comes down to is between 1 and 3 positions. And that's the most fascinating battle as we head into training camp.
You get zero pushback from me on that the 1 or 2 roster spots available on this team, the battle of the DBs is really what it's going to come down to. Offensively, I think we agree that it's the wide receiver room as far as depth goes. I think we're pretty clear on who the 7 guys will be. The only guys that could show up and show out to me is in the wide receiver room is a Braylon Sanders overtaking Craycraft or Eazy-E or something like that to end up on the roster, which to his credit, he's on. If we're going off last year's depth chart, he's above in the depth chart over Eazy-E. So maybe Eazy-E is the cut. So interesting. What a way to end up with a decent projection of a 53-man roster. Now, the screw loose in this whole thing is the Cook on the roster. I think if we were to say, hey, Cook isn't on the team and we still roll with 3 running backs, it's those 3 guys. And I think they take their chances with Gaskin and Ahmed making waivers, or maybe I guarantee you Mike McDaniel has his eye on plenty of other running backs around the league that are roster bubble guys, which is one of my favorite times, the 53-man roster cut, to see what defensive tackle gets out there. And a guy that was on your team and you're like, wow, you made the cuts, is immediately off the team and they go and get this guy. And, a running back pops up and we go from having 4 running backs to only 3 to then 4 again. Or we go from having 4 running backs down to 3 because they want to get a defensive tackle that's available or an offensive lineman that's available. It's a real maneuverable. I would say there's 4 positions on the roster, maybe only 2 that are in absolute fluidity depending on what becomes available after roster cuts.
Yeah, and 2 guys that I'm looking out for is 1, John Jenkins, and actually 3. John Jenkins, Tristan Hill is somebody who is a former 2nd-round pick of the Cowboys who has bounced around the league for a while, and I thought he was expected to be like this all-world defensive tackle, and I never really saw him that way as a prospect when he came out of UCF. So I think if he got into this backup 3-4 nose tackle DN role that he played in with Arizona and stayed there, he would be a good role player.
Rotation guy.
Yeah, right. And Kevin Strong Jr. from the Cardinals as somebody who may end up being cut, and he's a pure 3-4 defensive end, strong, not flashy, kind of from that same background as Zach Sealer, where he has good size, strong, good at the point of attack. Those are the types of guys that are going to be a dime a dozen for what the Dolphins are looking for after final cuts.
I also have another name I think you should throw in that hat. Akeem Hicks has time in this Fangio defense, knows that defense well. Zero tech guy if needed. Yeah, I think him and John Jenkins both have an equal amount of shot depending on where they end up of being a late addition on this roster.
Yeah, I agree with you. And he's a Fangio product. I mean, and he's also somebody that when you look at his history, he barely missed the Super Bowl with every destination. He was with the Patriots, he was with the Bucks, he was with the Bears. And he missed the Super Bowl every step of the way by like 1 or 2 years. Somebody who can come in as a role player for a couple of $1 million, maybe even in mid-season, to fill some depth roles. And I would say too, and Ndamukong Suh. And I'm not talking about making him a core player, but he has made it very clear that, hey, I've made enough money in my life.
It's all about legacy
from the NFL, mostly from the Miami Dolphins, but well-deserved too. And if he's able to just roll out of bed and be a backup at all 3 line positions, he can do it. And he was with the Eagles last year where he filled that exact same role. And who was there as a defensive consultant? Vic Fangio. So
maybe they exchanged text messages late at night. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, and there was no bad blood. My understanding with the Dolphins, there was bad blood with Matt Burke, who is the biggest bonehead defensive coordinator that I've ever seen. I mean,
he was super eccentric, gone all off season doing fucking extreme sports and stuff.
Yeah,
just a different cat. Ndamukong Suh, though, he said in an interview, he admitted that he was really kind of full of himself, not very helpful with the young guys, and self-admitted that he wasn't the best team guy with the Dolphins, and regretted that. And when he moved on to the Bucks, became more of a team guy, had a little bit of humility, and kind of wished he would have done things a little differently in Miami. Maybe he could make it right mid-season, come in, depth piece guy. He could play all those positions on the line and be effective, as you say. I could see that too.
Yeah, I mean,
if he's jumping on the bandwagon, it's for chasing rings, and that's a good sign.
That was big of Ndamukong Suh to say. It really was, as far as Matt Burke, because and the sad thing is the Texans hired Matt Burke as their defensive coordinator this year.
Last year?
No, this year. He is the defensive coordinator of the Houston Texans this year, who is tasked with getting the most out of Will Anderson. He is the guy.
God, poor Will Anderson.
And if it doesn't work out and the Texans suck, the number 1 pick in the NFL draft will belong to the Arizona Cardinals, probably 1 and 2 back to back with their own first round pick because of Matt Burke. And you can rest assured that'll happen.
We can expect in about 5 more years for Will Anderson to be on the free agent market, because they're going to be in no position to re-sign him. He ain't going to want to stay there, and maybe we'll pick him up in a nickel. You know what I'm saying? I don't know. We'll see.
That's right, man. Well, this has been
productive. I had fun.
I think we've got the 53 down, man. I mean, so we'll see how many we have right, man. I really enjoyed this, so.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Kat. We'll have to get you on again. We'll figure out some content to cook up. We can always stay in contact and everything like that. And we'll do this again on some other stuff. There's plenty to break down, and we'll get to it, buddy. I appreciate you coming on.
Sounds good, Phil. Have a good evening.
All right, man. See you later, Kat. Man, that's fun. Not bad. Just under 2 hours, guys. Just got it in. So make sure you guys are hitting the like button, subscribing. Make sure you guys are sharing. Share these videos. If you're watching on Facebook, Twitch, Twitter, come on over to YouTube. Subscribe over here. We're building it over here. We're just under 5,200 subscribers, cooking and chugging along, trying to get to over 6,000 by the time kickoff comes. I think we can do it. And we're just trying to grow. And we want you guys to be here in the ground level of the greatness we have that we want to do around with this network. Make sure you guys are checking out TFTGnetwork.com and all the good stuff. Make sure you're also checking all the great content with everybody you see here. Myself, El Capitan. We got Color and Ali in the mornings. KP coming out with some good stuff. Lewis and Shake in the afternoons and evenings. And we're going to keep you guys, cruising along all off season. And when the season gets going, we've got, golly, boys, you got, ladies and gentlemen, you have no idea the stuff, all the phone conversations, all the stuff we talk about at our meetings about stuff we just want to do with the website, with the program, the content, the everything. Make sure you guys are subscribed, hitting the notification bell, keeping up on it, because you're not going to want to miss out on all the great stuff we got coming. So that's it, guys. We'll see you guys next time. Fins up.